Theodosius I, often called the Great, was born on the 11th January 397 AD. His reign would be between 379 and 395, and he would distinguish himself early on in the army and would rise up the ranks. And after Valens' death in 378, Gratian had him appointed as Augustus of the East to try to help the situation after the devastating defeat at the Battle of Adrianople by the Goths. So from about 379 to 382, he had the Gothic War on his hands. Did not go that much successful because the entire army had been wiped out. But eventually, the Goths managed to settle a peace deal, and they were called something called the Foederati, which would often be used during future Roman times. And this really shows the collapse of any borders that Rome has, as now Germans are often going into the empire and really messing up a lot of the place, with often banditry and other pillaging of the countryside. So the Foederati, which is just a autonomous vassal of Rome, they were no longer, as they had been before, broken up into many different tribes and kind of forced to assimilate into Roman life. Now these were just fully autonomous blocks that in the later imperial period would often just break away from Rome and would not be very good for the empire, as just huge swaths of territory are now just occupied by foreign Germans. In 388 AD, Magnus Maximus, Augustus of the East, did not really like Theodosius that much. So Theodosius declared war on him, and he killed him after defeating him in battle, and basically just appointed a puppet, Valentinian II, that would basically be ruled by Arbogast, who was just a vassal, basically, of Theodosius. So now he basically had de facto control of the entire empire through the use of a puppet emperor in the west and his full control of the east. Also, around this time, Theodosius had heard reports that one of his men in Thessalonica had been killed. Theodosius was furious and initiated the massacre of Thessalonica, where 7,000 men, women, and children would be killed. St. Ambrose would be horrified at this, and Ambrose forced Theodosius to submit to him in order for him to be let back into the Catholic Church. And this would, for thousands of years, set the power of church over state, at least in the Middle Ages. And this would show that king or emperor would have to submit to whoever was in top of the clergy. And clergy members had more of a powerful position now because of St. Ambrose and him giving the context of why the church had more power than the actual political leaders of the time. Because before, it was much more of a mix of the emperor also had the similar amount of power as the pope, or even a little more. But now it was just completely the other way, where people in the clergy had a lot more power after this. Another important part of Theodosius' reign was the division of Armenia, where the Roman Empire would take part of the West. And Armenia kind of just declined after this, and it would fall not long after. And you could really see the end of the old kingdom of Armenia. And it really wasn't too important at this point. And let's also talk about the end of paganism. By this point, the vast majority of people in the empire were still just Christian. And Theodosius, throughout his reign, would enact a series of laws that would effectively ban paganism, sacrifices, and close down many pagan churches. And they would also discriminate against Jewish people too, which was quite anti-Semitic. And this would really show the end of paganism. So let's really talk about the last hurrah of paganism during his reign, which is the revolt of Eugenius. Eugenius overthrew Valentinian II in 392 AD with the help of Arbogast. Eugenius, with his revolt, would take power of the West and would have a lot of support in the Senate due to a lot of them still being pagan. And he would reinstitute this altar of victory and really show the kind of resurgence of paganism, even though he was still a Christian. And Eugenius would be killed at the Battle of Frigidus, and for the last time in Rome's history, the empire would be unified. And this would be very instrumental into the power of Christianity and the power of Theodosius. On the 17th January 395 AD, shortly after he won the Battle of Frigidus, he would die of a disease. He would leave the empire split between the East and the West, the East being controlled by his son Arcadius, and the West being controlled by his other son Honorius. This would be the end of any unified empire, as it would be split up after this, and this would be the end of the Roman Emperor playlist, and we will split it up into the Western Roman Emperor playlist and the Eastern Roman Emperor playlist to show that it would also just never be unified ever again. So how do we rank both of these emperors? I put Eugenius at F tier as a largely incompetent usurper who could really never hold on to power for that long, and Theodosius as A tier, as establishing the Theodosian dynasty, building things, settling a settlement with the Goths, and partitioning Armenia, being a successful commander, unifying the empire. Although his biggest weakness is his sons, as they were terrible and just terrible emperors. So that is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed. Subscribe, like, comment, and goodbye.